You need to be contextually relevant. Do you go ultra creepy and move into
Right.
people's lives? Because that will activate a cognitive bias in all of us. It's called reactance. When somebody tells you don't do that, you're going to want to do the opposite.
Welcome to Playbook Broken, the show where we interrogate what's no longer working in marketing, sales, growth, and today SEO, and get real about what might work next. Today's guest, she is not just optimizing for the future, she's actually re-engineering it. Miriam Jessier is a technical SEO. She's a strategist, educator, speaker. She's a pot stirrer, which I love. She's co-founder of Pragum and a unique agency called Neurospicy. She helps brands and agencies navigate the chaos of AI-powered search. She's also one of the most irreverent, no BS voices in the SEO world. And today, we're breaking down why the old rules of search no longer apply, why privacy first SEO what privacy first SEO actually means, and how to build authority in a zero-click, hallucination-prone, AI-dominated landscape. If your growth strategy still relies on rankings, keywords, and SERPs, buckle up. The SEO playbook is broken. Miriam, welcome to Playbook Broken.
Bonjour.
Hello, hello, hello. Super excited to talk to you. Before we get into it, I want to thank you again for joining Search Engine Land Live. This episode will air in a bit, but it'll be a while ago when I'm saying this. But what an incredible conversation!
I have plenty of opinions, and I'm very, very happy that people are still interested in these opinions and these observations that I have after now more than a decade and a half in that industry.
Amazing, yeah. You've been calling SEO myths out for a while now. What's the like worst advice you see floating around still today?
So, how spicy do you want it to be
I want
on
it
the
all.
scale?
I want allspice.
Okay, so on the Scoville scale, we're going to go very far. Stop watching gurus telling you what to do, okay? I'm so tired of this because then you feel like a failure when it doesn't work for you. So here's a simple rule, okay? Very simple. There's best practices for SEO out there, just like there's best practices for all kinds of marketing. And then there's your business rule, the stuff that actually works for your business, not out in the wild, not because somebody who has 50,000 followers says that it works. So please make sure that it actually works for you before you adopt a practice.
I love that take. I think we're kind of in this weird social media fueled universe where people who yell loud and kind of master the algorithms get they get a larger share of attention than maybe the actual experts who are heads down doing the work, which I think is what you're hinting at.
And if you're good at putting yourself forward, that doesn't mean that you're actually good at making other brands shine, okay? This is like a big mistake that I see marketing agencies make, especially when it comes to influencer marketing. It doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, it would be nice if it did, but it does not, which is, it is what it is. Real physics occasionally intercede in your dreams. All right, let's get into it. On Playbook Broken, I have different segments on the show, and I'm kind of like testing out things all the time and trying to see how we can kind of get into the meat of the issue, which is, hey, these playbooks are breaking. In this case, we're talking SEO. So I want to start with what I think is one of the stickier issues in SEO today, which is that search optimization is kind of in the age of hallucinations. And you've said that SEO is no longer about search engines; it's actually about relevance engineering, which sounds fancy, but I think I want to know more. So, what do you mean by that?
Well, I would like to nuance. Yes, relevance is important, but we need to understand the context that customers operate in. And I think this is one of the reasons why the playbook is broken, but also why marketers who are upset at this changing and having this loss of control don't understand that the future is not the KGB. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, before, it didn't matter what branding cared about. It didn't matter what the social media team cared about. It didn't matter what traditional media teams, marketing teams cared about. When I started doing SEO, it was like, listen, you don't know what I'm doing, but we're number one right now and I'm making you money. So now you're going to be nice to me, okay? You just don't question it. Just let me do my thing. I don't want to hear about the rest. I'm out there building what comes next. And now this playbook is kind of broken, and I see companies going, okay, oh my god, we have to rank, our rank trackers are broken because we can't really track our visibility in LLMs, and then AI mode and AI overviews. And I'm like, okay, but you have to understand that as a brand, you should be reading the room. You should not be like the KGB, bugging every single seat and trying to figure out, like what is going on for each person. It doesn't work that way. It just does not. And this is what I mean by relevance and context engineering. You as a brand should know when it makes sense for you to show up and when it does not. And you cannot force people to pay attention to you, because now you have this AI brand ambassador showing up going, actually, I'm going to sift everything and break down the user's query based on what I think they want. I'm going to infer this out of their own context, the memories that I have, other chats we have. How are you as a brand able to foresee all of this? You're not. You should be doing your job in a way that makes sense in the user's context. You should be relevant in that context. The end.
It's interesting. The KGB analogy is phenomenal. I love it. But what's interesting about that whole riff is supposedly that's what we were doing, right? Traditional SEO was pretty simple, right? Write some content, have people find it. Google's kind of playing matchmaker, and if you're relevant in theory, right, that's Google's line, like just write good content, and you'll get found. But something, obviously AI has changed and the interface has changed. But what you're saying, it's almost like a first principle. It's always been true, but it's even more true today because of how users are finding content. Is how I interpret what you're saying.
Yes. Yes, and I remember in 2011, so that NDA has lapsed a long time ago,
Oh, hit
but
us.
I was optimizing for Karl Lagerfeld. Their online store was coming on in France, and I had to fight with my own team to say, in France, nobody is going to Google. Nobody, absolutely nobody is looking for a Karl Lagerfeld skirt. When you talk to regular humans who like fashion, they're like, oh, I bought this Lagerfeld skirt. They don't use the Karl, okay? So then I was told, yeah, but the client doesn't quite like it. I'm like, I don't care if the client likes it or not. This is the reality. This is who they're selling to. And I basically got told that, yeah, I will not be in client meetings anymore because as you said, I'm irreverent. Apparently, just talking about what makes sense and what you see is not good enough.
Yeah,
So you, you see that there's this notion of wanting pure control over your brand and how you're going to be perceived by customers. And I remember that even in 2015, 2020, I had to explain to some clients, like I used to work for a big Canadian bank, and they're like, we want to be number one on this. I'm like, that's phenomenal. But on that query, just letting you know, you have the Canadian government, you have Wikipedia, you have financial bloggers giving advice, and you're trying to peddle your service. Please understand that in that context, you don't have a fighting chance of being number one. What we should be focusing on is making sure that you show up for that query, but that's the beginning of the journey. Let's show up consistently along the journey.
yeah.
I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, okay, this is not going to work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so let's kind of push even further in. I mean, we're in this zero click environment, which is to say that more and more often people are finding results through LLMs and search engines and not clicking. So I'm getting the information I need, but there's no click required. And of course, the entire economy up until recently is still built on clicks. And so you've got LLMs, you've got multimodal search. What should brands then be optimized? If I'm not optimizing for clicks, what am I optimizing for?
I have opinions about this, and I keep shouting because I I see that some folks are not understanding what's going on. Right now, what AI, what LLMs are bringing is multimodal capacity, but also more and more agentic capacities. So I was talking to a lovely gentleman named Lucas, specialized in analytics in Switzerland, and I was like, hey, I love the fact that you're talking about all like how to track things and false positives. Fantastic. But what happens when we mandate bots to do our work for us? Because right now we can absolutely send a bot to purchase shoes. I know that the SEO in charge of the brand On, wonderful shoes, by the way, if you're traveling a lot or if you're an athlete, which I am not. I travel a lot though, love the shoes. He was able to buy his first pair just by sending a bot to do it for him. So that's one portion of the story where brands are not realizing that this is happening. So we desperately want human eyeballs, but maybe it's not just going to be human eyeballs doing this. So what happens when a bot shows up on your website and you have a pop-up on top of a pop-up with a third pop-up, and the bot is just deterministic trying to click and do the thing? You're getting in the way. That is a problem. But then there's the other side of things. I have been glued to my phone since the ChatGPT, but also my favorite is Perplexity. I know they're shady, but they get the job done. I also have Gemini on my phone. Don't worry, I'm paid to learn all of these things, so of course. But can you imagine what it's like to go out in the world and open a fridge, show a video of your fridge, and go, "Hey, I need you to go and check the specials from the supermarket and create a weekly menu for two vegans, two non-vegans. Keep it cheap, by the way. And you're gonna use what's already in my fridge, but also look at what's on sale. And then you're gonna create my grocery list."
Yeah.
And this is more and more the reality. It's multimodal. So when you say, what do we optimize for? Once again, we need to reconsider, what does the ecosystem look like? What are we helping to build and optimize for that? So if I'm in the store, Mark, and I'm wondering, because I'm not vegan, I take a picture of something and then the words don't show up, the machine cannot read it, and I ask, is it vegan? Ooh, you're losing out to the next packaging that's going to tell me it's
Yeah.
vegan.
Yeah, as you were talking, I had a whoop moment, and let me run it by you, because I don't know that I'm totally right, but I think I'm partially right, which is interesting. Here's an analogy. So before the internet, let's go like 1987. I don't know, 1991, before commercial internet was a thing. All of time up till 95, let's say. Um, brands, let's just use the shoes, right? On didn't even have a direct channel, and they sold through distribution channels, and those distribution channels needed people to walk in the front door. That was the majority of people, right? All of a sudden the internet comes on, and now people don't have to walk in the front door, or we don't have to change what we optimize for. And even pre-Google, there was different ways for people to find you. You get listed on Yahoo or whatever it might be. Now, and here's the analogy or the analogous situation, which is now we have a new mechanism. We have agents that can do our bidding for us. So we went from having to get in a car, go to the store, walk in the front door, try on a pair of shoes, to I don't know, do it online and free shipping back. And now I just describe what I want, and it just shows up in my house. And so at
And
each phase of that, you had to business had to re-optimize what they're doing to get in front of potential customers, right?
it's beyond that. So while you were talking, my brain was going, yeah, but what about showrooming? Because now you have IKEA having mini stores in
That's right.
cities. And by the way, nobody likes these stores. Like I've been asking and nobody is delighted by them. Okay. They're frustrated.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that IKEA is right or wrong. I'm just saying that it is interesting to see that people now want to see, since buying online is the default, we still want to touch, to feel the thing, and then make a decision, right? So that's one of those things where I see some brands winning at being pop-ups or showing up or opening their behind the scenes or having special sales. Okay? Which, if you're French and you have lived in Paris, you know that every single big fashion brand actually has these special sales. You really need to be with the in crowd to make it. But that has always worked. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of stuff where we think it's brand new. It's not. The
Yeah.
playbook is broken. That doesn't mean some of the pieces are not valuable. So
No, I
when
agree. Yeah.
and it brings something else, Mark. Imagine that, yes, getting in front of people, we have to change. But it's the same with music. So we complained for a very long time that there was this concept of payola. Payola being you pay, you get played, which
Yeah.
is why both of us have been haunted by summer hits that were just utter dog crap. Okay. Just no. And so
Don't come after my
now,
summer pop songs, man.
although if I do this, it's a 2000s
Okay, that one's
summer
crap.
song.
Okay, yeah, we're good there.
See, see, and this it ties into something else. But really quickly, artists figured out that actually the new gatekeeper is algorithmic. They don't
Yeah.
need to get in front of the label. They need people to really latch onto their music, and then they get the label.
Yeah.
So they know this game. But notice how I just did this motion. So for people who can't see and are just following along a different way with a transcript or otherwise, I'm taking my hands and I'm just moving them on top of each other horizontally real quick. And Mark already knows which song I'm referring to. And this ties into TikTok dances. Sure, like something that is viral. But on top of this, it ties back to the multimodal and to the nature of LLMs and why they're kind of awesome. Not everything is terrible, but a lot of it is. This is awesome. The fact that I can talk to you, okay, and I love doing this one. Mark, I want to talk to you about a movie, okay? You're going to have to guess what it is, okay? So it's a movie about that brings about male breast cancer awareness,
Okay.
okay? But it's also a movie about a group of dudes who can't talk about the group of dudes, okay?
Okay.
But but they're also selling soap, okay?
Okay.
What movie is it? Do you need an extra hint?
I, I'm a huge movie fan, and I'm like about to be ashamed because I don't know what this is. It's a movie about breast cancer, selling soap.
Okay.
What was the second thing?
So it's a movie that brings about male breast cancer awareness, and it's a
Male breast
group of
cancer.
dudes. But like they don't
Oh, hold
talk
on.
about
Wait,
the group.
wait, 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 wait. It's something like Porky's or something like that.
So hang on. Every single middle-aged dude having a physical crisis will walk into a gym and show on their cell phone to the trainer the body of the actor in that movie and go, "I want that body."
uh, I don't know. The Rock. I don't know.
Fight Club. And if you
Fight Club.
ask, and now that I tell you Fight Club, it all goes
Yeah.
back, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
There's
mean, Brad Pitt in that
there's
movie
a
is unbelievable.
And the way I described it is completely unhinged. But it genuinely, and this started as a joke because I was desperately trying to describe this movie to someone because the name eluded me, and the person was staring at me like I needed psychiatric help. But ChatGPT got it. ChatGPT was
Really?
like, Fight Club.
Fight
So
Club.
if you were to show a video of yourself going, hey, there's the summer song that is like going like this,
Yeah,
it will know
it's gonna know.
because, well, it doesn't know, but it connects the dots where if we were to use Google to type this in, imagine typing in everything I've just said about Fight Club. Do you think a
Yeah.
search result would come up? No.
No.
Yesterday, I went on Perplexity and I was like, I need you to help me find a chili crunch brand that is only available in the US but has a strong, incredible visual identity compared to all the other Chinese ones that you see out there.
Yeah.
Based on that design hot take, it was like, oh yeah, you're looking for a fly Beijing. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're describing is it's really disorienting if you can't wrap your head around how people are actually searching and how humans tend to think about things in like abstract ways, right? Like, what's that song? What's that song? The guy goes la la la. Like,
It's
what's.
what I find very interesting is that it's disorienting to you because you work in marketing. Is it disorienting for humans that are seeing all of these technologies make it easier to search because it aligns better with our natural tendencies? As you said, like we click our fingers or we'll grab someone's arm going, but that thing, look at it, look.
Yeah.
That's how humans search. That's how we seek
Yeah,
information.
you're outlining. The accusation's true. I'm in marketing. I've been in marketing for a long time, and you said it earlier, right? We want to rank first, and you're like, look, like I spent 10 years in nonprofit, and we want to rank first. I was at Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We want to rank first for cancer. Good luck. Like cancer's too broad. That's like saying I want to rank first for air. I don't know. Like
So I'm gonna tell you why nonprofits absolutely loved me because I do not. I put my money where my mouth is, and I will help my community. So during the pandemic, every single museum in Quebec was working with me, okay, because they were closed. What do we do?
yeah.
And the number one thing I say to nonprofits that they need to optimize for? What's the one thing?
I guess awareness, but you tell me.
No, tax return information. You want donations? Figure out the person's context. Their
Yeah.
context is if I give money, do I get a tax break?
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, it's one of the
If
first questions people ask. You're absolutely right.
yes, so that's why it the playbook is broken because we consider it to be broken. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a tiny tangent, and then we're going to get back on
Let's
what we
go.
need to do.
Let's
Okay.
journey.
Do you know what the difference is between a problem and a situation?
Why don't you just tell me?
So, oh, by the way, I hate it when people ask me these
I know. I'm
questions
sitting here
because
going, "Why are you doing this to me? I invited you on my
I
show. Why are you
have
doing this to me?"
no, but I have ADHD, and whenever people tell me, "What do you think it is?" It's like, you have no idea what's going to come up in my brain compared to what you're thinking, okay?
Yep.
But a problem is something that has a solution, okay? It may be costly, it may be timely, it may require a lot of resources, human brains, I don't care, but it can be solved. A situation cannot be solved because it simply is. So GDPR is not a problem, okay? It simply is a matter of fact if you operate in Europe. It is a legal
Right.
framework. And situations can change, and situations can go back to being a problem depending on the context, the awareness, new people coming in, whatnot. Okay, it's not a closed off thing, but search being now AI powered is not a problem. It is a situation. So the longer we operate on this premise of I have lost something and I'm upset, the longer we're closing ourselves off to figuring this out and having the liberty, the mental bandwidth to actually do something worthwhile.
Yeah. I think what you just said is really powerful. It's really insightful, and it immediately reframes almost everything I'm working on as is this actually just a situation? I will tell my team often like, hey, there's some physics to this. Let's I'm just thinking of one right now. Let's talk email marketing, right? Like email marketing, there's physics to what it is. You're going to get a certain amount of deliverability. There's going to be a certain amount of average opens. There's going to be a certain amount of clicks. Some of those clicks are going to be but mitigated by spam checkers. They're going to be fake clicks. It's a situation. You can do something about it. You can try to do something about it. You can turn it into a problem, or you can acknowledge like some of these clicks are not real clicks, they're bots. And I think like that framing is really powerful. And I think you just paid for the entire podcast. So thank you for that.
But it helps people that are in charge that have to make the hard choices
Yeah.
make better decisions instead of I've had clients spend literally $15,000
Yeah.
just to have me tell them, hey, you have been clicking on your competitors, and as a result, Google simply doesn't show you your own result anymore because
That's
they
right.
understood you don't want it.
So it's really that's a quick segue, and then we're going to move on. Not even a segue, but a quick addition to that, and then we're going to move on. But we're going to move on in a way that's connected to what you just said, and which is I was thinking about the algorithmically mitigated world that we live in, and kind of what you just said, which is as you take actions, it's learning, right? And so now we've got a new set of tools coming on the market. SEMrush, Conductor, the rest of them. They're all saying we can help you understand what's happening in AI, and that's great. Generic prompts, you just sort of go, okay, you rank here, here, here. But here's the problem, I think, as I think about it, and I think I watched a video on LinkedIn about this the other day, which is, yeah, except if you're a regular chat user, which 700 million of us are, or whatever the number is, right? These things are learning about our own preferences. And so at one point, if I go, hey, I really love SEMrush, for example, it's never going to show me something else, right? Like the
Yes, because
algorithm,
they're
like
building
that's
echo chambers. Yes.
like
And that's
and the
why.
echo chambers are not they're not media echo chambers, they're Mark and Miriam echo chambers. Like we
Yes.
live in them. Like
So what I find fascinating with this is it ties back to my initial statement. You're not the KGB.
yeah.
You need to be contextually relevant.
Yeah.
And how do you accomplish that? Do you go ultra creepy and move into
Right.
people's lives? Because that will activate a cognitive bias in all of us. It's called reactance. When somebody tells you don't do that, or when somebody does something where you resent them for it, you're going to want to do the opposite.
That's right.
So yeah, like the more I'm targeted, and as you can see with my background, I like Art Deco. Okay, that's like I have a 100-year-old tall boy right here, wonderful. But Reddit keeps targeting me to try to sell me some Art Deco ring from Etsy, and I'm like, you really don't get it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna wear it. I'm gonna put it in my house.
Yeah.
and and it's one of those like the more they show it to me, the less like the faster I scroll. I'm like,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah.
So you don't want to trigger these reactions in people. And that's why I say read the room. So, going back to these tools, okay? I know that this is something most people don't think about. So, if you are considering these tools, first of all, you should be. You should be because something really weird happens to brands. It's called the AI brand drift, or if you are a researcher, you would call it the semantic drift. Okay, so this is something that I know, I've spoken to Philip Armstrong, another consultant in the space, that I really think aligns with where I'm going with this. Is that the more you talk, the more you have conversations, the more you're polluting your context window. So the context window is, if you're listening to this and you don't know, when you have a conversation with these tools, you are bringing in information, they're bringing in information, and when they tell you stuff that doesn't feel quite right, or you're like, no, that's not what I'm looking for, darn it will still consider this thing. It's am I allowed to swear on this or
Yeah,
no?
hit it. Let's do it.
Okay. It's like a plunger. It always brings up old shit, okay? Like, it just does. So you're like, "I already told you to stop doing that," and your solution is you try a new conversation, right? But with tools being able to reference different chats that you have going on, this stuff will
Yeah,
keep coming up. So we have some brands that realized their April Fool's jokes are now part of their brand ethos, because an LLM will narrate the brand and
yeah,
talk about their made up joke acquisition.
yeah,
And now they come across as being owned by a company everyone is trying to avoid. And it's like, no, they're the opposite. But you
yeah,
don't get that because they swallow this stuff. So as a brand, use these tools to understand also your context, like what's
yeah.
being said about you. Okay.
That's super smart. Yeah, let's. I want to interrupt just because I want to move to the next part because I think like there's something to build on here. Is that okay? Can we go to the next
Yes,
piece?
let's go.
Awesome. All right. So, like I said earlier, Miriam, I've been fiddling with the format, and I came up with something as I was thinking about this conversation, which has been great so far. Thank you. I'm calling this segment "I'm Stuck. Help." Okay. And it's a segment where I, Mark, ask the guest, you, Miriam, a question and you try to help. And I'm going to frame this exactly the way we've been talking about this. This wasn't planned, but we got here. So I'm really excited. Let's say I'm a CMO. I'm not, but let's pretend I am. And I'm sitting there going, my organic traffic is tanking. Search is weird right now. I don't know. I don't understand half this stuff. Not even entirely sure I know how LLMs work, but they're fun to play with. I don't trust my agency. I don't trust myself. What do I do?
So I'm going to be, how spicy do you want it?
I want all spice. We're going,
Okay. So first of all, wake up. You've been spending so much money on paid ads and now you're worried about organic? Now you're worried? What the heck? Because personally, I've been seeing some brands like Hermes, Chanel, you can tell I'm very French, but
I
Hermes
love
has
it.
been existing before domestic electricity came into French households, okay? And they don't have a problem with LLMs. They don't, because they created stuff that is just like a semantic, a visual anchor for these tools. They have the proper LLM fuel to make sure that it aligns with everything they've got going on.
Can I
Yes.
just insert a word into that because in my from where my because it's interesting to hear you talk and the playbook broken audience aren't they're not necessarily search people, they're non-search marketing people,
Mhm.
strategy, like you're talking about brand. That's what you're talking about. You're talking
Yes,
about.
I'm talking about the technical side of branding.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And this is the thing that most people are not realizing. If you want to get really technical about it, this is technical branding. What you're asking your SEO to do is to understand your brand DNA when they didn't care about it at all for years, and now you want them to pull magic. It doesn't work that way. So, first things first, if you're stuck, you need to realize something. So, I have a quadrant that helps brands understand this better. Number one, whatever you put out is your known brand, what you control. So all your PR pushes, all your campaigns, that's going to be gobbled up by AI and going to be spat back out. Okay. Then the second portion is the latent brand, the stuff that people talk about. So if you have, for example, like Nestle, an entire subreddit dedicated to hating you, it's called Fuck Nestle, and it has like hundreds of
I've
thousands of
seen it.
people following. Yeah, you don't control what's coming out. Okay.
Yep.
But not only that, you have a third element, which is your shadow brand. So the shadow brand is like the stuff you know about yourself that you're not necessarily communicating. So, what is that shadow brand? Well, the shadow brand can be positive or negative. Oh, did you have lawsuits? Was there a leaked memo? Is there, for example, there's so many CEOs that have shot themselves in the foot in the media and their media team is running after. Now that gets baked in. So, it's the stuff that gives you nightmares. Like, if it were to come out, we would be toast. But it's also the other side. So let's say that I'm the Target CEO and we know that Target and DEI right now, they're not friends. But they lost so much business. You can't come out and say, "Oh, we are DEI friendly. Forget everything we've said." However, can you discreetly start feeding the LLM some information about your DEI programs so that when ChatGPT comes up and says, "No, but they actually are," there's data they can point to. So it may not be real or it could be totally real because we're living in a hallucination. I call it a post-reality marketing world. Okay, we're beyond reality. We're not tethered
Yeah.
to it anymore. But if I tell you that Heineken is a sustainable beer brand, they actually do have a program and you can go on there and check it out. So the machine is basing themselves like itself on stuff that has
Yeah.
been fed to it discreetly.
Yeah.
And
You know,
these three bits, just finishing these three
yeah, yeah,
bits, that's your AI brand. That's your AI narrated brand. It's not what you say. It's
yeah,
those three bits together.
yeah. The framework's terrific. The quadrants are amazing. Although there was three, not four. Was there a fourth quadrant?
Well, the fourth one is your AI narrated brand. And that's why I want brands to take the time because most brands are going to do just like SEO. They're going to short circuit the thing and go, I want to show up in AI. And it's like, yeah, you will. Just
Yeah,
not
you will.
sure
You
when.
will. You were going
Exactly.
to. You may not like the answer. It's interesting. I mean, I'm just thinking about the investment that's been made or the non-investment, right? The relative investment in PPC versus SEO. And, I've been describing this Don Draper theory. You know Don Draper from Mad Men? Is that
Yes.
okay? So I've been describing Don Draper as a zombie who's been reanimated, right? So Don's whole thing was brand, 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 brand. These high-end advertising campaigns, emotions. Where do brands are how customers think of you emotionally in their minds, right? Like that's the connection. And so I have this theory. I wrote this thing about Don Draper's a zombie. He's back and he's pissed. And where it comes from inside me is we have spent so much time over engineering click analytics and PPC analytics and ranking first, and like it's all performance marketing. But what we have missed, I believe, I mean, great brands have not missed this. To your point, Hermes continues to be an incredible brand, right? But I think what we've missed is sort of the nuance of brand. And now with AI, with your quadrant, you sort of see what's about to happen, which is scary or an opportunity. Or actually, let me phrase that: it's either a problem or a situation or both.
And if let's get pragmatic, because one of the problems that I have with the lovely podcast that we're on is it's a lot of theory. So let's get down to brass tacks, okay?
Love it.
What does it concretely mean? Take a picture of your packaging and ask ChatGPT, what brand is that? And ask questions like, what is it? Why should I buy it? If you see that it's not answering,
What an idea,
properly,
Miriam.
you have a problem. But
Yeah,
let's go a bit further because take your logo, go to Google Cloud Vision API. There's a demo, it's free. You can upload your logo on there, and if Google recognizes your entity and says logo of this company, then you know that your brand, the technical portion of your brand, is perceived. But let's go a little further because there's one thing that people who are in search don't get that branding people get. A brand is what for customers? From a cognitive standpoint, from a neuroscience standpoint, a brand is a shortcut to decision making.
yes.
Okay? And that's what we want. And the easiest way to consider this right now is if you work in search or if you have a team that works in search, sentiment is now a thing. Is it positive or negative towards your brand?
Yeah.
But if I'm looking for a fun, flirty summer dress, Zara models are not gonna cut it. They all have that resting bitch face. That doesn't scream fun. So go back on Google Cloud Vision API and you're gonna see there is a confidence score on the emotions that are detected in the picture if there's a human. So when we're talking about sentiment cluster, that's something you can do real quick. Upload your image, your product image, and if there's a human, go like check out what's going on. But just just one more thing. Maybe, just maybe, if you want to get really technical about it, take all the reviews that you got and ask an LLM, hey, is it positive? Is it negative? Do sentiment analysis. There's
Yeah.
somebody in your company that knows how to do this.
Yeah. Miriam, that was a masterclass, to be honest, in taking theory into practicality. Is is that practical? Like, is that some kind of your agency? Is it practical? Is that related?
It is the bane of my existence. So, just so you know, originally I wanted the name Smart Squids, but if you are in French Canada, as I was, when I registered, you're not allowed. That's English. So, we had
Oh,
exactly 4 minutes to come up with a name. And I was like, we're
pragma.
pragmatic people. Pragma.
Okay, so it is.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, I love it. All right, before we get out of here, this has been amazing. There are so many nuggets I'm going to go over them in a minute. Before we get out of here, I have a segment on the show that I call "Force Yourself." I am fascinated and intrigued and kind of like obsessed with figuring out how really successful people like yourself do hard things. So in this recurring segment, I want to talk about a time when you had to force yourself to do something, maybe let go of a pet SEO theory, maybe something more personal. It doesn't matter to me, but I want to get inside the brain here. Like, what's going on inside? How do you like get yourself up off the couch, either literally or virtually, and push through to force yourself to get going?
So, first of all, there is no forcing me. And that is a huge problem for me because when you have an ADHD brain, you don't have the same amount of dopamine. Literally, you cannot pay me to give a fuck. You can't. You can't threaten me. That is a huge problem from a business standpoint. But it also means that when I'm passionate about something, it doesn't get hard. I don't have to force myself because I have this inherent motor that I have to get it done. Okay, cute. Fine. But how do you actually force yourself? Well, first of all, figure out if the thing scares you. If the thing scares you, then you can have a buddy you can talk to. So I have a friend of mine. We will make appointments for the dentist together. We don't live in the same country. We don't have the same dentist. But that's how we take care of each other. We have this promise that we make sure we take care of our health. Then there's the other portion. How do you feel when this thing that you have to force yourself to do, like if it's too overwhelming, cut it up. You go on goblin.tools and you choose literally the spiciness level as well. Like you choose the chili peppers and it will break down the task into as many steps as you need so you don't get discouraged and give up because this is what usually happens, right? You try and then you go off because it's too hard and then you have an excuse. No, cut it up. I don't care. And this is another element. Do the first step. Tell yourself, I can give up after the first step. It doesn't matter. But do that first step. Do something because you're going to see that once you have started doing a thing, it's hard to actually stop.
Yeah.
It's too hard. You have hacked yourself. And last but not least, if you cannot bring yourself to stop doing something, so for me, I will try to look at personal metrics. So one of my personal metric is the cost per wear. And I bet you've never heard of this, have you?
Oh, please give
Okay.
me.
So I come from a nouveau riche family, but sadly, I was dreadfully poor once I turned 18, okay? And I had to rebuild. So it's very complicated because it's like love, when they say oh it's better to have loved and lost. Yeah, same. When you actually do have money and you stop having money, you can yo, it's not the same. But you still have advantages in life because you can navigate, you understand social things that other people don't. Okay, fine. So my problem was that I was buying too much clothing, so much of it that would fall apart. How do you convince yourself that you are worthy of buying a $400 dress when you used to live on $2 a day for food when you were younger, right? So you can never let go of that trauma. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to keep having the trauma. I can't convince myself, but what I can do is bring rigor to my thinking. And so I started having the cost per wear. I can buy the $300 dress. I just have to wear it 100 times because my cost per wear is $3.
That's right.
That's fine.
That's
So
brilliant.
all of a sudden, yeah, but you see, when you buy that clothing that is like cheap and like
Yeah.
fast fashion, Am I ever going to get to $3 per wear before it disintegrates on me? Oh, all of
Right.
a sudden, that's not a rational purchase. Of course, I should be buying the expensive one.
Yeah, I love it. Wow. You just dropped a number of absolute game-changing bombs. I'm just gonna I'm looking at what I jotted down. I was paying attention, but I was jotted a few things down. I jotted KGB down, which was just an insanely good analogy. We talked a lot about control. Marketers need to control, and I think kind of the subtext here is you have no control. Give up. You have a
No.
situation where you have no
You
control.
can control, you can influence, or you can react to.
Yeah, amazing. We talked about, I talked about the difference of walking into a store, buying stuff online, and agents. I didn't get to a thing I want to talk to you about, which you and I will talk about at some point in the future about experience and how important the experiential pieces of all this stuff are, because I think that's part of the key. You talked
Yes.
about situations and problems. And by the way, I'm stealing that and I'll give you the credit, but like situations and problems is brilliant. And I think you might have invented a new term. Now, I think the SEO community might get mad at me for saying this, but I think technical branding is a
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And it's a
It
thing
is a
that
thing, and nobody wants to talk about it, but here I am shouting it from the rooftops. I'll add one last thing because I know we were talking about tools, like AIO or Profound or Scrunch. I understand we can't be the KGB, but when you're going to pick your solution, make sure I like to think of it as lab data and field data. The lab data are the prompts you want to track. The field data is all that clickstream data that validates what people are doing. So at least you have an idea. Okay. You're not stuck in your echo chamber. So if you're going to pick a solution, ask the rep, hey, what about the clickstream data? Does the sample actually represent the type of audience I'm going for? So
ooh,
little tip for
smart.
CMOs.
Yeah, smart question. All right, Miriam, where can people find you? What are you up to? How do they get in touch if they want to talk? All the good stuff.
So you can type my first name, Miriam, and SEO, my job in Google, and you will find me all over because they know. But if you're looking for me, the easiest way is reach out on LinkedIn, send me a DM, but make it good. Like, don't start with, oh, hi, how are you? Just tell me where you saw me and what you need from me. Even if you want free advice, just be upfront. I love to give compact value. So do not hesitate to
Amazing.
reach out. And
That's
if you
great.
want to see what I do, prag.co or neurospicy.agency.
Love, love, love. Miriam, thank you for being on Playbook Broken with us today. It was amazing. You can find Playbook Broken on YouTube, on martech.org. Find us on all the audio channels, basically everywhere. If you have comments for me or Miriam, like I said, reach out on LinkedIn. Me too. LinkedIn's the best place for me. And thank you for watching.